Hey guys, I got the new story, and it's broke. Yeah, it's broke. I love stories. I love telling stories and writing stories and thinking about stories, and so that's what I'm going to be doing today. We are going to be breaking a story, brand new, never before heard. Yeah, I'm going to be creating it throughout the day, and what I'm going to do is get two prompts, an environment prompt and a character prompt, and we are going to create a story out of these two prompts. If it doesn't make sense, hold on, it will. Alright, here we go. So the environment is a dark, futuristic city that's being cleaned up by people and features a trickling stream. Okay, so we've got a good setting. Alright, character. A sad elf girl wearing a fancy wig, dunking a cookie into a glass of milk. Well, now we are going to create a story of a dark futuristic city that's being cleaned up by people, and it features a trickling stream. Also, with a sad elf girl wearing a fancy wig, dunking a cookie into a glass of milk. Let's get started. I'm thinking about it, and I'm really liking this imagery of this dark futuristic city. It's all, crummy and run down, and people are cleaning it up, and just there in the middle sits a very fancy, well-dressed elf girl looking sad. She's just like sitting on the ground eating milk and cookies, and I like this, just that image as like an ending point. So now I need to work backwards to who is this girl, how did she get there, why does it end? Like, it seems like she's sad yet satisfied. She's sad but she's eating milk and cookies. I think she starts at the top and eventually seeing the corruption at the top, she ends up tearing it down. She loses everything, but she also knows that it's for the best. I think that's kind of the way I would want to take this story. So maybe it's because I just watched Chinatown, but I feel like the stream, the trickling stream, has to be the source of corruption, is what I'm thinking right now. They're in the midst of a drought, and the corruption is not for like a money grab or a power grab, but it's just the lack of caring from the corrupt people at the top. They're throwing these extravagant parties and wasting all this water, and yet they're in the midst of the drought and the people are dying. And it's this little elf girl that sees that. I say a little elf girl. Hey, buddy, how's it going? But it's this elf girl that sees that. I think she's always known that that her people are corrupt, and that this high class is not very favorable to the little guy, to the working class. But yet, this is what just throws her over the top as she watches people needlessly die while they're wasting away the resources that they have. I'm thinking that it could be interesting, like she starts this political, journey. She does it in a way of for the people sort of idea, and she creates this movement by exposing the corruption of the politicians, essentially, that are in the higher class, and she exposes these people for what they are, and now everybody's like really all for her, and she ends up creating this movement, but this movement ends up becoming more than what she was expecting, and it ends up becoming violent. I think that could be really interesting. I think at the end what they're cleaning up is the burnt rubble and remains of the high society portion of this city. I think that, and she's sitting there, in the destruction of what she created, and yet how it got out of hand, how she wasn't expecting it to go where it went. A little kid sees that she's sad. This is how I think the milk and cookies get into it. And like goes up and shares the milk and cookies, and she's like, okay, we still have a future ahead of us that we still need to make. We can't just be bummed out about what has happened now. I think that's where this story kind of goes. I'm also thinking it's really interesting, her coming from this high class and yet fighting against it. There's gonna be a lot of tension there between her family. Like, this is the place where she grew up and yet it gets burned to the ground, that sort of thing. I think that's a really interesting thing to play with here, and story beat and story elements. We have a story of a futuristic fantasy place. It's a story of politics, of greed, of corruption. There is a drought. People are suffering, people are dying, and yet, in the high rise, this society of the rich, the wealthy, and the famous, extravagant parties are thrown and water is being wasted. Resources that could go to feed millions are being thrown out. And our young elf girl, Rhea, sees this and cannot stand the corruption any longer. So she decides to do something about it and begins a political movement. A political movement which exposes the corruption of the rich, the wealthy, and the famous. Her political movement begins gaining traction as she exposes these people. But yet not all is well. For counterattacks begin, and she is ostracized politically. What does ostracized mean? I don't know, but it sounds like a cool word. However, the more that the high society push back against her and try to silence her, the more her political movement gains and grows. And soon it seems too big to control. Finally, as a last-ditch effort to silence Rhea for good, the high society people decide to execute her. She is saved, though, and she's rescued and taken to the working class where she can fully see how miserable these people are. This, though, is the thing that finally breaks these people. While violence has been a part of this political movement, Rhea has always tried to silence it, to keep it at a minimum. But she can silence it no longer. These people have had enough, and they make plans to burn down the rich and the high society. Burn down the political buildings that used to mean something. Realizing that she can no longer control the movement that she has created, Rhea makes her way back to her family, trying to get them to leave, trying to get them to understand that there's nothing more that can be done. But they don't listen to her. In fact, they themselves attempt to kill her, to silence her, to keep the life that they think that they can still keep. The attack is made while Rhea is still there in the city. Rhea is seen as the one who started this attack. And after the violence settles, she's left there, sitting in the rubble of her home. Nothing left. As she's gripped with the grief of losing all, a young child comes and tries to comfort her. Warmed by this sweet gesture, Rhea realizes that the fight is not yet over. If this child is to have any hope for a future, someone is going to have to rebuild the government, rebuild this society. They hail her as queen, as she realizes there's a long road ahead. Cut to black, roll credits, the end. That is Rhea and the Fallen Kingdom. That's what it's sure. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, this look into the mind of writing a story, at least my mind of like creating it. Anyway, hope this was fun. Be sure to check back tomorrow for a whole new video. And as always, I love you awesome nerds. We're out. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I didn't say that, but do that as well. Alright, guy, bye. Wow.